Hello guys, how's it going? Um, we are here with Beau from Natives Fly Fishing out of West Virginia, owner and operator of a fly shop, guide service, and even a net company. So thanks a lot, Beau, for joining us here. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
No doubt. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Of course.
Also appreciate you being one of the first ever to join the GoGuide system. It's been a long road since you've joined us. The system's changed a lot, and you've been a huge help in helping us build an incredible product. It's really been you and some of the other guides and outfitters that we first worked with that has turned GoGuide into what it is. So it's really all you guys.
Hey, I've believed in you guys from the beginning, so happy to be a part of it.
Well, we really appreciate that, Beau. Just to get into it, I guess I'd like to. I know Phil knows quite a bit about you, but personally, I feel like I don't. I'd like to kind of hear the beginning of your story, how you got into to fly fishing and fishing in general. Where did the passion really derive from, and how did you get to the point where you are now?
Cool. Yeah, good question. I've been fishing my whole life. My dad put a fly rod in my hand at an early age. I was probably 7 or 8. Caught a bluegill in an old farm pond, and didn't really stick with the fly fishing for years. He didn't really fly fish, but we grew up throwing corn and power bait at stock trout, and we did that for a long time. Till I was about 18, was kind of introduced to the fly again, and started it. Kind of didn't really know what I was doing for a few years, and then about I was probably about 2021 when I kind of went all in with it. A couple friends of mine were really avid anglers, and it was more about the journey for me, just where fly fishing took you and the places you could go. Kind of fun fact for you: I'm highly allergic to fish, so I can't keep I can't keep fish even if I wanted to.
Wow.
So the whole aspect of fly fishing, of catch and release, and the conservation side, I was kind of drawn to, and kind of the whole reason I did a camera on a net in the first place, just to prove to people I was actually keeping all the fish, or catching all the fish, since I couldn't keep them.
Hmm.
So it was kind of birthed out of necessity. There's more of a story behind the whole catch cam thing, but that's basically my story, man. So I've been at it for a little over 10 years of every day doing this fly fishing stuff. Absolutely love it.
Awesome. And yeah, you kind of touched on the conservation side of things. I noticed through the website, Natives is really more geared to almost like a community aspect of what it is as far as a brand. And it has a lot to do with the conservation side of things. So I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more about that and how natives and conservation really are one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we use this term conservation a lot, and I feel like it doesn't have much meaning. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people that like the idea of conservation, but what are they really doing for conservation? So I kind of took the spin off with natives. We are the native people chasing the native trout. You know, we were born and raised here, catching fish that are born and raised here. So I wanted to build a community up to educate and to encourage more people on this conservation side of things, to get more involved, to do the right practices of catch and release and how to handle fish. To get it more involved with stream cleanups and restoration work. And it doesn't have to be big organizations that are putting this on. It can just be you simply practicing the right things when you're on the water by yourself. And everybody hears conservation as like, oh, this big, high and mighty, saving the salmon or tearing down dams, and those are awesome things. But it doesn't actually have to be just that. It can be your daily, approach on the water. So we kind of share that, teach that, and encourage that here at Natives.
I think that's amazing philosophy. And there was one quote on your website that I liked a lot, and it's that our brand is a way that local people can represent the water and fish that they help protect and pursue. And you talking about how, often people think of these large guide associations or these large conservation projects like protecting the salmon, as those are incredibly important, boils down to the individual, whether you're out there with a guide or not, just being out in the water and making sure you're practicing good habits, good ethics, and really leaving it the way that you found it. So we really enjoy those values that you preach so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's funny because West Virginia is light years behind most states when it comes to conservation or good, wild fisheries or healthy, ethical fishing practices. Like I said, corn and power bait, following the stock trucks. That's West Virginia for you. And I think, our platform with natives and the more conservation-minded stuff is going to shift that mindset of the anglers. It's going to change that culture. And we hope West Virginia can become one of those awesome fly fishing destination spots. But it takes a community to do that. And we have the resources. West Virginia, especially when we're talking like warm water, man. Our smallmouth and musky fisheries are unbelievable. And nobody talks about it because our culture here is just are far behind. So we hope to impact that in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys are doing it in an incredible way, creating that community, a place where people can learn about how to do it the right way. People who are interacting with fly fishing for the first time, sometimes your clients, for example, they get to learn how to do it the right way. A fly shop is where you kind of stop in to learn more when you're first trying to get into the sport. And having a big piece of that be learning about conservation, learning about fish handling, some of the stuff that isn't the first thing that you learn, but should be. I think that's a great thing that you guys are doing there. So super excited about that to see where it goes.
Appreciate it. It's funny. I had a customer in the shop this morning asking how the fly shop business is going. He's like, "Isn't this brick and mortar a dying thing with online sales and everything?" And it made me really think about it. More about that community thing. Like a fly shop is a community, and people come here for that knowledge and to be involved, and what your local hatches are, that kind of stuff. You just don't get by ordering online. And so it has built that new passion up again. Like, man, a fly shop, a brick and mortar is a community. And so we do have a cool thing going here. It really is.
For sure.
It's really the foundation of the industry. I mean, that's how the majority of this information gets passed around. I feel like just by walking into a new place, a new fly shop, and talking to whoever's behind the counter, sharing knowledge and sharing intel and sharing those ethical practices that we're talking about.
No doubt.
Without it, I couldn't see the industry thriving as it does.
There's always that fine line. Like, you don't want your employees sharing too much information. Like, don't go squat burning my favorite hole here, boys. But, share with your customers a little information. Help them out. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. You were kind of starting to allude to the story of catch cam nets. I know you gave us a little bit of a sneak peek into that as far as why you first came up with the idea. But you said that there was a little more to it, so I'd love to open it up to hear a little bit more about catch cam nets, when you started it, why you started it, and what's been the journey.
So it kind of started back 2013, 2014. My brother-in-law moved here from Missouri, married my sister, and he graduated with a film degree from Topsail, and he really couldn't get much work around here. So I told him, get in the outdoor space, start building your portfolio up, just follow me around with your camera while I fish, get some content and put it out in the world, and maybe you'll get some contacts or contracts from there. So that's kind of what we did. We started a brand called West Virginia Natives, which is my original WV hook logo. I created that logo, that brand. We basically were just a little Instagram page. Started doing some YouTube videos. Ben's a magician behind the camera. I mean, he's got a hell of an eye for it. And we started this just for fun, kind of for him, and it kind of took off. People were loving the content we put out. And so I started doing apparel and hats, and after the second guy got the West Virginia hook logo tattooed on him, I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. I maybe have something here. Well, Ben started getting busy with his work. Started doing more commercial shoots and got on with some big names. And so we ran that for a couple years together. And then he kind of went on his own, and I was still doing construction full time. That's what I had a business doing. But I was loving the fly fishing journeys and where it was taking me, and all the awesome people I was meeting. And basically, I didn't have Ben anymore to follow me with the camera anymore. So I took a duct tape and a GoPro and put it to a wooden net that I built in my wood shop, and I started getting that perspective with the camera on there, and it was just so easy. I was able to throw it up on the bank as a tripod to film me, or just all the different angles I could get with it. And I started posting those shots, and people were liking that. And there really wasn't anything out there on the market designed for the angler. Like, yeah, the chest mounts and this and that, but it wasn't very versatile or designed. You're already using a net, so why not kind of make that into a product that helps? So I filed for a patent. It came back. The patent research showed there was nothing else like it. And took about 3 years, a whole lot of money, and papers I had to sign and draw and all this craziness. In fact,
There it is.
right there. finally came back, and that's when I decided to go all in with it. I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And it was more or less, not that I thought I had this $1 million product, but I just felt like if I'd never pursued my dreams, I would look back one day thinking, what if I would have done that? Where else would I be right now? So I decided to go all in. Bought this place and remodeled it. Thankful for my construction background, because if I never had that, I would never have been able to do half the stuff I've done. But yeah, remodeled the fly shop and manufacturing shop, and we've been at it about 2.5 years full time now, and we're actually looking for another building to expand to. So it's starting to really grow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Kind of the quick story version of it for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm most curious, and taking it back a little bit and expanding on you're talking about how you kind of built your own brand, because that seems to be such an important thing in this industry, not only as individuals but as teams. But it sounds to me like you've always had some sort of creativity in your life. If you were able to come up with such an awesome design, your woodworking skills, how did all that kind of come to be? I mean, did you just get behind kind of a drawing board and start coming up with ideas about the West Natives and the hook design and the net build? Like, how did that all come to be?
Yeah, I think I've always had that kind of creative mindset. Used to draw a lot as a kid, and always more in the creative side, building stuff with my dad growing up. Always more into that than, I guess you would say, book smart, or so I've always kind of been geared that way. But yeah, the first hook design was kind of just a napkin drawing, sitting at a bar one night, started doodling it out, and just an idea that came to me. West Virginia logo. West Virginians here are pretty proud of our Flying WV logo, and so I kind of played off of that and the hook, and I started to expand that idea to different states, places I started traveling and fishing, and I kind of took the Wrap Your Water model that they were kind of just starting at the same time. Kind of took that model and was doing different logos per different states I was traveling to and fishing. And then when I started the net thing, I just got overwhelmed. Like, I'm trying to do too much too fast. And so I literally dropped even the West Virginia natives, all the native stuff, for about 2.5 years. And I just focused on building the nets. And when I bought this building and started the fly shop, I brought the West Virginia logo and the main end logo back, the native logo. And like, I'm not trying to do all the different state stuff now. Like, I just want to run a brick and mortar, an outfitter, and I want to build nets. Like, I don't want to be a big apparel brand. Branding is crucial. It's very cool, and I love doing different designs and stuff like that. But yeah, I just don't. It's easy to get stretched really thin. I've learned
Yeah.
that the hard way.
Yeah. I really love the idea of kind of that feeling of like, the idea of like, if I'm going to look back at something and not having at least given a shot, like it's okay to fail. It really is okay to give something a shot and it not working out. At least you, first of all, tried it and learned along the way through that position as well. And I feel like that's a lot of what this industry is. A lot of the people in this industry are the type of people that were like, damn, I just want to make a living doing what I love.
Right.
And I really don't want to worry about the usual 9 to 5 track that everybody's going down. I want to try to make something of my own, which I love about this industry. Like, I love meeting people and hearing those stories.
No doubt, man. Because there's like those guys that live the 9 to 5. What are they living for? They can't wait for the weekend to do what we're doing every day. You know, it's like, so I'm living my dream right now, and to me, I don't look at it as ever failing. Like, even if I don't get to do this the rest of my life, I've got 10 awesome years of doing this, and you know, it's a success to me every day.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the most important. You know, if you're doing something you love, it's hard to call it work.
I mean, there's no doubt I work. I spend every day doing something in here, and it's crazy at times, but it's fun. It's enjoyable at the same time.
Right. So, as far as going back to kind of catch cam nets, are you doing all that manufacturing there in West Virginia? I guess what is that side of the business look like?
Yeah, so about 90, well, I would say probably about 70% of it is done right here. So, you know, we outsource our products. Everything's American made, from our aluminum tubing to our aluminum handles, 3D printed end caps. The only thing that's not American made is the rubber bags. Can't get rubber bags in America yet. So those come from China. But we bend the hoops in-house. We powder coat in-house. We print the handles in-house. We assemble everything. Our camera mount block is manufactured down the road out of another facility, but still locally here. But so, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say probably 70, 80% of it's done right here in Fairmont.
And you have such a wide variety. I mean, you guys have, you know, anything ranging from small creek trout nets up to giant boat musky nets,
Right?
with all sorts of prints and designs on it. Is that right?
That's right. We got a tool for every job. Whatever fish you're chasing, we've got a net for.
Very cool.
Awesome.
And you guys are also doing collabs too, from what I remember, where you're kind of doing the 3D printing of other people's logos on there as well, if somebody's interested there as well.
For sure, yeah. So we do a thing called build your own net. You get to pick every feature of that net, from the hoop, the collar, the bag, the handle design, and then on that handle design, we can put your name, a quote, a company's logo, and we are starting to pick some companies to collaborate with, where we do a specific handle design, a graphic that they basically sell as their own product. It's a catch cam, like we did with Fish Gods. They have their own design. They sell it as a Fish God catch cam net, and you know, it's their exclusive design with their branding on it, and we're looking to expand that this year with a few other companies.
Maybe we got to get some GoGuide catch cam nets going. Drop a like or comment if you want a GoGuide catch cam net. We'd love to see that.
That's right.
That's amazing. So you mentioned it briefly before about the smallmouth fishery and musky fishery there, and I'd love to just dive into that because typically, you know, people hear fly fishing, they think of fly fishing out west for trout, rainbow trout, brown trout, and I feel like this smallmouth fishery and especially the musky fishery is almost like this untapped market, really to the rest of the nation. And in turn, it can be a lot more fun and exciting, hooking up to a giant muskie or native smallmouth, something like that. So I'd love to just hear a little bit more about those fisheries and how all that is a little bit different than out here in the west side.
For sure, man. Yeah, that's an underrated thing here on the east. Everybody, like you said, looks at fly fishing as this trout tactic, but the tools have been innovated so much with these sink lines and these bigger rods and the fly designs themselves. There's so much you can chase now with a fly rod, and being where we sit here in Fairmont, West Virginia. We're right at the confluence of two awesome rivers, the West Fork and the Tiger. Where they meet, they make the Monongalia, which runs clear to Pittsburgh into the Ohio River. So this drainage here is all native smallmouth and muskie, and it's unbelievable fishing. There's some gear guys that do it, but the gear guys can only go so far in their fancy, sparkly bass boats, and there's not really many jet boats or rafts out on the water here yet, and that's something that we're passionate about. Putting the fly shop here is like, get out there on the river right here, man. Take your fly rod. You don't need a fancy rod. Take your 5 or 6 weight and go throw some topwater flies at these smallmouth. They're going to crush them, and it's awesome. So we're kind of building that industry up here, if you will. You've got some places like the New River in West Virginia that it's known. It's a couple hours south of us, and then into Virginia, and some up north in PA and in New York. Like those warm water fly fishing is known, but not really where we're sitting yet. So it's kind of a new thing we're starting. And our trout fishing is okay in West Virginia. It's really a lot of stock stuff, but we do have some awesome native brook trout creeks. And if you want to get off the beaten path and go chase some blue lines, we have endless amount of water. In fact, the very first year I started chasing brook trout, I fished 150 different creeks.
Wow.
Started knocking them off my list one by one, and after about 150, I was like, all right, I'm not going to keep counting. It's endless. You can just fish for days. You really can.
That's so good. What does a day of musky fishing look like with you guys? Like, I've never really been musky fishing, so I kind of get the concept, but what does that look like?
It's a love-hate relationship with musky, man. It can be awesome, it can suck. It really can. It's a grind. And for most people that hear musky fishing, especially on a fly rod, like if you see a fish, you've done good. Like that is musky fishing. But we've I'm not going to say we figured them out, because they will humble you, and when you think you've got it all figured out, they'll definitely humble you. But we're starting to see and pick up fish every trip. In fact, this Saturday we were on the water with 2 boats, 6 guys. I was filming. Little plug: we're shooting a musky film for the Fly Fishing Film Tour video this coming year. So we were out filming Saturday, and we boated 6 fish and we saw 10. So we got some awesome shots. 3 of those fish were on topwater poppers.
Wow.
And I even caught a big smallmouth on a musky popper. This is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, our fisheries are pretty incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Phil and I were talking about it the other day. Just wanted to go, chase muskie on the fly. I was feeling a little bit too confident, I guess, because he reminded me that the muskie's the fish of 10,000 casts, and I had never heard of that before. But after hearing that, it sounds like that's a pretty true statement.
Very true, and especially if you've never fly fished for muskie before. It's like we get guys that's trout fly fished here all the time that want to go on a float trip with us. And we go over, okay, well, you've got to understand muskie are different. You're not going to catch many muskie. You might see one muskie and you got to make it count. And here's how you make it count. Like, you got to strip set. Do not lift your rod like you're trout setting on these fish. If you do, you're going to lose it. So it's like, it's a whole new technique to try to teach somebody who's never done it how to do it. And so, like, our odds for guiding muskie don't look great because we get a lot of trout guys come in here, but they're ecstatic. If they see a fish, you're talking a 4-foot fish out the boat, and if you listen to what we teach you when you see a fish, as you're stripping it in, don't stop that fly. Keep that fly moving. We do a thing called a figure eight, and you want to work that fly in an 8 motion to keep that muskie's attention. So, like, if we get a client to have a fish follow on a figure eight, they're hooked for life. Like, they're like, this is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, our odds of actually netting a muskie on a guided trip is pretty slim right now. But again, we're trying to build this fishery, up. Like, these people around here just don't really do it. But on the flip side, what we are trying to promote on our outfitter is that we have 4 seasons of muskie fishing here in West Virginia. Like, most muskie states, like you hear of Wisconsin, Minnesota, like, they've got a very short window when they can chase muskie because it gets so cold and iced out up there. So what we want is those guys up north come down and fish with us because, I mean, our winter fishing is unbelievable. That's sometimes the best, biggest fish come out in the winter. And it gets cold. We get some elements, but nothing freezes up. Like, it's not impossible to not fish. And spring and fall are my personal 2 favorite times to fish. So it's that's what we're trying to promote and try to get out there to the world. Like, West Virginia has 4 seasons. Come do it. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's incredible. So as far as the musky fishing, it sounds like this is mostly rivers fishing. Are you guys doing any lake, still water stuff, or is it all rivers?
We don't, man. We haven't done much of that. It's hard on the fly. Our lakes are big and deep. It's not like you hear of Wisconsin or even like up in New York. You're fishing weed beds on those lakes. So it's relatively shallow. You're talking 10 to 15 feet on those kind of lakes, and you're fishing weed beds where those fish are suspended. So no, we don't fish. A couple of my guides used to gear fish for muskie, and they fish some of those lakes. But as far as on the fly, we're on not just rivers. We're fishing tiny creeks, stuff you would think would be trout water. Though it's a little deeper. You're talking 4, 5, 6 foot. But, I mean, they're no wider than 10, 12 foot wide. You're just kind of lob casting both banks floating in the middle.
Wow.
Is it mostly sight? Are you mostly sight fishing for these fish, or?
Sometimes of the year. Yeah, this past weekend, we sight fished a fair amount. I mean, I had to cancel one of my trout trips because our water was so low. This drought, we haven't had rain for 3 weeks, so that's why we got to go muskie fishing. We'd be typically still be guiding for trout, but yeah. So sometimes sight fishing is super fun, super cool.
Gotcha. What's been the steps as far as, like, okay, you opened up as far as guiding and doing the whole outfitting side of things for muskie recently. What have you guys done to get better at targeting the fish? I know muskie are impossible to target. What's been kind of like the learning curve? What have you guys kind of learned about them? If you're willing to share some small details, I don't want you to like give away your secrets, but.
Nah, man, I love sharing info. I mean, time on the water is crucial. Any guide will tell you if you're not spending time on your water learning it, you're not gonna have a good success rate. So just spending time learning kind of the holding areas where they're at. The muskie do migrate. I mean, we have fish that come out of the big rivers up to spawn in the spring, and that's one reason why spring's my favorite time to chase muskie. But yeah, spending time on the water. Fly innovation's been huge for us. We spend a lot of time just changing patterns and trying different things. In fact, the storyline for the Fly Fishing Film Tour film is about one fly that one of my good buddies has done multiple times now. We're just kind of documenting his story. He tied a all-white fly out of a deer that he killed with a longbow hunting. Nice buck, mature buck he hunted. and he took the tail, processed it, tied a musky fly on it, and then he went out and caught a 53-inch musky on it.
Wow.
So it's that fly innovation, but like the story of how he got that deer tail. It's really a cool story, but we've experimented with a lot of different techniques of flies and lines and that kind of stuff. So I think it has opened up our success rate a lot.
How long has that process been? Like, how long have you guys been really learning this fishery?
So I'm very thankful for the guys I have. Great friends. I chased muskie before meeting them. I chased muskie for about a year and a half with never boating a fish. I had multiple follows. I had 2 hookups, and I struggled. It was like my kryptonite. I could not land a muskie. And then I started fishing with some of my best friends now, and they had been doing it for a lot longer. I mean, Nate has been muskie fishing since he was 11, and he's 33, 34 now. So, I mean, he's put in the time. The Martin brothers have been doing it basically their whole life. And so I kind of, my learning curve was cut in half through them, basically. So I've been chasing muskie about 4 or 5 years now, so not very long. But like I said, they've been doing it about a lifetime or half a lifetime. So really, since we've all got together though with the native brand and everything and started doing this, it's been basically 2-3 years of really innovating and really learning these fisheries out as a team.
Is that musky film you're talking about for the fly fishing film tour? Is that released, or is there somewhere that people can find that at the moment?
Nothing yet, man. Nothing yet. We're keeping it on the DL. We just hosted the local F3T films a couple weeks back, and
Okay.
we showed a highlight reel or a hype reel of some B-roll footage that was in the vault that we didn't plan on using, but it was pretty sweet to see everybody's interaction because there hasn't been a musky film on those since I think Brad Bowen's Zero to Hero film back, 10, 15 years ago. So
Right.
it's overdue for a musky film. But no, we have not publicly really put that out there yet.
And just for anyone who's unfamiliar, I guess, what's a large muskie, ranging as far as size goes?
Our state record is now 55 inches, which was 51 pounds. The thing
Wow.
was unbelievably it was huge. But a big muskie, everybody wants to break that 50 mark. So, a 45 is a class of its own. Once you start getting in that 4-foot range to 50 inches, you've done something.
Right. And these are predatory fish. They're crazy powerful, fast, and they'll just hammer the fly.
No doubt, man. Yeah, it's nothing like it. The heat is unreal. I'll
That's
rip a rod
amazing.
out, man.
We got to get out there. We got to get out there and get on the boat, Phil.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for sure. It'd be something.
You got a good connection to a guide in West Virginia, so anytime.
Right.
Absolutely. What's the gear situation looking like for anybody that's looking to get into musky fishing? What would you recommend as far as gear goes?
So that sweet spot is the 11 weight, man. It's not every manufacturer makes an 11 weight, so we go 10 or 12 weights. 10 if you're throwing a little bit smaller flies. 12 if you're throwing those foot-long to 20-inch flies. And that's really why we use the size rods we do. It's more about how to turn those flies over. Not that an 8 or 9 weight wouldn't hold a muskie, because they're not super fighting fish. They're not like a permit or a bonefish that's going to sit drag for days. Usually you can control a muskie pretty well, but it's more about turning those big flies over. And like I said, throwing 400 grain sinking line all day with a 16-inch fly. It's a grind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Could definitely see that. I think my arm would be a little bit sore after a day of doing that.
A lot of PBR and Advil coming to
I love that. I love
We're
that.
now sponsored by Short Story Brewery, so I gotta say that's what we drink. And
Okay.
Douglas rods is what we promote. A 12 weight DXF rod. That's what I would recommend.
We love
Uh,
the Douglas guys. They're great guys over there.
Dude, yeah, awesome rods for sure.
Awesome.
So what do you, I'm just out of curiosity, what are you trying to imitate with these 16-inch flies? I mean, I always see, videos on Instagram of these yellow, like duck-like flies. Is that typically it, or is it, fish patterns, or is it just kind of something big moving through the water that this thing's going to attack?
It's a little of all those things. Never really have fished a duck pattern though. Top water right now, that is kind of what we're imitating. We wait for the first baby ducks to come off on the water, and that's when we kind of switch gears and start throwing top water. So I've never tied an exact pattern like I've seen online of the baby ducks. Those are pretty cool. It's a pretty
Yeah.
talented pattern. But yeah, a lot of it's bait fish, man. Like we have a lot of suckers, a lot of red horse suckers. So we tie a lot of those patterns that have like the orange and browns in there. Um, we tie a lot of all white flies, imitating just about any kind of bait fish, a shad or a shiner or something like that. Even though we don't have a ton of that bait in our waters, it's just, fishy looking fly. But
Right.
yeah, that's basically what we're imitating. So another fish.
Gotcha.
A lot of our waters that hold muskie are stocked with trout, which is hilarious. They're just feeding the muskie to get big, which is fine with me. But yeah, we tie like bright, pink and yellow flies just to kind of imitate those trout.
Nice. Yeah, I doubt those trout are getting too big with those muskie in the water. Probably getting snuffed pretty quick.
Between the muskie and all the rednecks on the bank keeping them all, yeah, those fish don't have a chance to thrive.
They have a tough life, that's for sure. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the musky fishery sounds insane. It sounds like something that everybody should be getting to experience at some point. So me and Seth, I know, are excited to get out there and fish with you guys sometime soon.
Absolutely, man. And our smallmouth, every water that has muskie has smallmouth. So our smallmouth fisheries are just as awesome. And it's a great thing through the summer months when the waters are warming up for the muskie. We kind of target the smallmouth more. So.
Gotcha.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have muskie, smallmouth, obviously trout, brook trout. You have largemouth and even walleye. Are those kind of your primary species you guys are targeting out there?
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. Now the walleye game is something not many people are doing yet on the fly. We've caught a few unintentionally musky fishing or smallmouth fishing, but they're really kind of hard to figure out. They typically pull up in the early spring at dams, and they're kind of deep and hard to target on the fly. So we're just now kind of getting into that a little bit more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And is that all? That's all on rivers, streams. Do you guys do any still water fishing, or is it all your guided trips are on rivers, streams?
All rivers, yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. What have you found condition-wise is what you're looking for a good day, either musky fishing or smallmouth fishing? Like, what are you looking for? Are you looking at things like moon phases? Like, is there any kind of pressure changes that you're looking for? What's kind of like that sweet spot that you would be like, this is going to be a good day of musky fishing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I used to think moon really played a lot. I think as we all fish long enough, we learn things and we experience things differently. And, for the first few years, you get set like, this is the answer and this is the way. And then you fish a little bit longer and you start doing good in other conditions. So you start to understand, like, there's so many factors to it all, and it's so hard to pinpoint exactly what is the perfect case scenario. I used to really think that full moon and new moon was key, and I still do. I think those are still your prime times. Um, you know, the moon has a major effect on our tides. It has a major effect on our waters, and a predatorial fish is chasing more bait fish, and those bait fish are moved by the water. So there's definitely something to the moon. So yeah, I'm always wanting to fish a full moon or a new moon, or 2 days before or 2 days after. Um, But lately, man, the last year, we have been having awesome luck on 1 star days, middle moon phases. This weekend, 6 fish in the boat. It's like a 1 star day. Like nobody who would musky fish that follows the moon phases would think you'd catch 6 fish in that day. So that's what I mean. Is it's always humbling to learn that maybe we don't know it all. It's just
Yeah.
get out there and fish. Get
Yeah.
out there and fish every chance you can.
Yeah, I think as fishermen, we always try to like figure out what's happening, like what's going on, and we try. Sometimes we just add value to things that aren't always that big of a deal. But at the end of the day, it's about learning all the factors and how everything plays together, which is super cool.
I think a lot of it, man, is learning when to adapt. And I say that even with trout fishing, bass fishing, musky fishing. It's like if you are a dry fly fisherman and you go out wanting to dry fly fish today, but there is no hatches and there's no fish rising. But if you continue to fish all day with that dry fly, you're not going to catch a damn fish. So you learn to adapt. Maybe you throw a streamer on. Maybe you throw a nymph on. Maybe you throw a dry dropper set up for a while. The same is true with musky fishing. You've got to learn to adapt with the conditions, with the times. And, some days going out musky fishing, the water is a little stained up and we can't fish the patterns or styles we want. And we've got to adapt to that. We've got to fish something with some more movement, some vibration, maybe fish something with a big head to push more water. It's harder to cast, it's harder to fish, but learning to adapt is crucial in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, me and Seth caught a piece of that actually this past weekend. We've got a yearly trip. We go down to the Gunnison Gorge, try to catch the salmon fly hatch, and last 3 years it's been on the money. Every single year we've had an incredible time. Salmon flies crawling all over us. So this year we stopped by all the shops. We got a bunch of salmon flies. We were prepared and ready for that salmon fly bite. Got down there and not a salmon fly out there. So big adaptation, had to figure it out. And you just have to adapt sometimes.
That's right, man. That's right. Yep, Mother Nature's a bitch sometimes. She'll change it
That's
up
right.
for sure.
There's
Yeah,
a
we
lot
had to
to
put on the
that
tungsten beads and make it work, but we still ended up having a great trip, no doubt.
Yeah. There's a lot to that idea of guides, not gods. There's only so much that a guide can do to prepare for a day and be ready for everything that's going to happen that day. But sometimes Mother Nature's just not going to let it happen, which is totally fine. I mean, that's part of the fun.
That is the truth. That definitely is hard to figure out sometimes. Mother Nature's been tough to us with this drought, man. We've got the private stretch of water now, and it's been phenomenal all spring. We've got it every week on it. We've ran 3 or 4 trips a week, and then this drought hit, and man, we got so much fish in there. It's just they got so smart and so technical. Like if you weren't throwing 6 or 7X in size 20s to 26s, you weren't catching fish. And if you didn't lay a nice delicate cast down, like if your client smacked the water, then fish were done. And it got technical, it got tough. So yeah, guides not gods for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you got some great values and some amazing philosophy behind your teaching there. Did you have any sort of mentors in the sport, or I guess how did you come to just acquire this information, just through other peers in the industry, or what was that kind of like?
Pretty much, man. I've always kind of been that type of person. I don't put people on pedestals too much. Now, I think there's some awesome people that have been very knowledgeable, very creditable. They've done awesome things. They've learned their waters, but they're just people. And when you get to know them, they're just like you and I. They're not like gods up here, like they're the best. So I've been surrounded by a lot of those people, but I've never really spent much time like picking their brain or learning from them. And I hope nobody would ever look at me that way, because I'm still learning every day as well. There's tons of stuff to learn. But But I've learned most of my stuff just being on the water and being with my friends. I mean, like I said earlier, my friends are far better anglers than I am. They've done it far longer. Um, and I've got a business partner with Catch Cans, and he's fly fished all over the world and for a long time. And he's a little older than me, so I'd say he has a little more experience than I do. So yeah, I've learned some stuff from Steve, and always learning, man. Always learning.
Yeah. One thing I found through my fly fishing journey is you learn a lot from trying out different species. Just trying something completely new, finding a new species to target and getting good at it. Any other species that have really grabbed your heart other than musky out there that you've gotten to chase? And what have you kind of learned from that chase?
For sure. I mean, brook trout will always be like my bread and butter. Like, there's always going to be a special place, since that's kind of what I started out fishing for. Um, Wild browns, I love chasing some big wild browns, throwing big streamers. But I got a little taste of the saltwater the last few years, man, and that's there's nothing like it. In fact, if I lived closer to the salt, it'd probably be all I did. But I'm getting to chase some tarpon here in a month down in Florida after we do ICAST. We'll be at ICAST for the first time this year,
Nice.
and yeah, hoping to boat a tarpon. It's that's a fish that's eluded me for a long time. So hopefully I can check that one off the bucket list.
I love chasing that fish, and you do learn a ton from it. Just for those who don't know, what is ICAST, and what will you guys be doing there?
ICAST is like the biggest fishing show here. It's like an industry only show, so we're hoping to get some connections with distribution and sales reps and all that. But we'll be down there July 10th through the 14th, and we'll have the nets there. So we're looking to really expand on wholesaling the nets.
Awesome. That's going to be very cool. Where are you going? Where are you going in Florida to go chase these tarpon?
So ICAST is in Orlando. We're going to drive about 2 hours over to Clearwater.
Clearwater?
Yep.
Okay.
I've chased
And
them. I've chased them several times in Destin. We go to Destin every year, and
Okay.
caught a lot of redfish, amberjack, jack crevalles. Caught a lot of those on the fly, but that damn tarpon gets me every time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're amazing specimen, and just being able to see them roll, really, in their natural environment, and then getting the opportunity to place a cast and
Yeah.
hopefully have them take. I mean, the whole experience is very hunt-like, and I've been a hunter my whole life, and that just it correlates very well, and it's made me fall in love with chasing tarpon, 100%.
No, man. And same with Musky. I think you would be hooked on Musky because it's a hunt. That's actually
Yeah.
the name of the film we're shooting is The Hunt.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, have you done much tarpon fishing then? How like
I've gone out to Isla Morada down in the Keys once before. I got to fish with an amazing guy down there, Greg Smith. He wasn't my first guide down there. He was my second guide of the trip, but he's definitely the one who taught me the most about the fish. And I got the opportunity to hook on to an amazing 100-pound plus fish, and just went to war with this thing until it got to the point where we leadered the fish, but the fight was dragging on a little bit too long. So he made the call to pop the line, and he told me, some of those fish they're not meant to be caught. Those ocean run fish, they'll die before they let you land them. And ever since then, I've absolutely respected the hell out of them. And I've never seen anything like that in any of my years of fishing or hunting. So ever since then, I was hooked, and absolutely love it.
no doubt, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Me and Seth have that saltwater bug right now for sure. We
That's
went,
roosters, right?
we
Yeah.
went rooster fishing recently, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
What a
man.
blast.
See the different journeys and places the business takes you. It's so awesome.
It really is. I did kind of want to get into a little bit of just like the business of fly fishing. What was it like for you to, first of all, start a brick and mortar, second of all, start an outfitter, and what are some challenges that you faced that you've overcome? Like, what's some stuff that you could tell people in the industry as far as like what to expect when you're trying to chase this dream?
Yeah, solid question again. It's funny, we started a brick and mortar right when COVID hit, and a lot of people were like, "You are crazy. What are you doing?" And again, I've always been that kind of person. Like, when I set my mind to something, I'm going to do it because I can't live with myself not doing it. But we were like, we're going to do it. We're going to have fun, and nobody's going to tell us what to do kind of attitude. And honestly, it was a blessing. We started out right when everybody was getting their stimulus checks and having time off work, and they were all going fishing. And in hindsight, it was probably an awesome time to start, right? Um, and it was tough. It had its struggles. I mean, mask mandates and all this, and it was a trying time. But we're in a small kind of rural area. It wasn't hit as bad as some of the big cities and everything. Um, I've got a good friend out in Colorado now that is starting a fly shop, and I'm kind of walking him through it, what to do, what you need to do, what you need to get your ducks in line before opening the doors, and it's been cool, kind of. I wouldn't say mentoring, but advising him what to do in that time, and yeah, I don't know if that answered your question good enough, but
Definitely. How about when you're starting an outfitter? Like, what's kind of the things that you would say like you got to do before you start an outfitter? What's the main things that you've seen? Like time on the water, first of all, is probably the main one. But are there any other things that you could say are important?
yeah, so starting an outfitter for us was the ultimate question because, like I said, we're in an area where trout fishing isn't good. You got to travel an hour and a half to any trout waters that are stocked, and nobody's chasing, muskie and smallmouth on the fly. So, like, why would we start an outfitter here? But having a brick and mortar, and it's part of a fly fishing community is having that outfitter. We're getting called all the time. Just teach me how to fly fish, but we can't teach without an outfitter license. So we were like, okay, we're going to bite the bullet just to teach people. Originally, we thought we were going to teach them in a pond here at a golf course, just for some like bluegill and bass. And then we started talking like, no, let's teach people the way we fish, man. We're going to put in point A on the with the raft, and we're going to float 8 miles, and we're going to teach them how to fly fish on the raft. And that was trying in itself. It's not smart to teach somebody how to cast a rod on a raft for 8 hours. So then we kind of backed up and we're like, all right, let's have teaching days. We'll do a 2 hour casting class right here behind the shop, and then we'll do a 5 hour beginner class where we'll teach them, all about bugs, all about the gear, the different ways to cast. We kind of split that up here at the shop and some time on the water. And then now that we've gotten the private water, which is the only cold, clean water within 30 minutes from us, we've got it privately leased. We stock. We've been managing it for about 2 years, putting fingerlings in. And those fish are thriving, taking off, which is my biggest argument in West Virginia waters. These fish are just never given a chance to survive. A 6 fish creel limit a day is bizarre. I mean, nobody should be able to keep 6 fish a day, first
Yeah.
of all. But almost all of our waters are stocked. So they're stocked, and these bait guys come down and keep all the fish out. So this is one water that is not stocked, and it's cold, it's clean, it's got canopy. So we gave it a chance. We started putting fingerlings in, and they started growing and thriving. And then we started stocking some catchable adult fish in there, and that's where we run almost all of our trout trips now. Um, as far as what else I would advise on and outfitters other than private water. Private water is fantastic. I would say take social media serious. You want to have a good presence out there, showing the fish, the catches off. Um, and then try to really rank on Google. That's been crucial for us. So we're not just guiding local people here. We're guiding people from bordering states all the time now. And basically, when they Google fly fishing in West Virginia, we rank number one on that, and they hit us up and we take them out. So having that ranking is kind of crucial. Absolutely crucial. In fact, I'm still learning that kind of SEO stuff. Like, we rank for fly fishing in West Virginia, but we don't rank for fly fishing guides in West Virginia. We've never used that terminology enough yet. So there's a lot to all that SEO.
Definitely.
Yeah, I know Phil's been trying to dive into that a little bit, but in its complicated world, that is such a huge part of the business. But I was going to ask about your clientele, if you were seeing most of them from kind of the local areas around where your shop is, or if they were a lot of outsiders, coming into West Virginia, and kind of the location of your shop. You're in Fairmont, but where is that, I guess, in location of the state for anybody who's wondering?
So we're north central. Like, I don't really like to do this, but this is the shape of West Virginia. So here's the Panhandle. Like, we sit like literally right here.
Okay.
And right north of us is Pittsburgh. So
Gotcha.
that's the shape of West Virginia. Sorry.
I love it. Visual diagrams always help. So
For sure. Yeah.
Diagram.
We're right below WVU, like the big college town.
Yeah.
We're an hour and a half from Pittsburgh, so we're sitting in a nice area for sure.
Right. And you always hear about guide and client relationships and how important that is in an outfitting business. Really securing, obviously, those repeat clients, but also just making sure you have a good reputation for anybody who's gone on a trip with you. What are some ways that you personally or your guides, what are some of these steps that they take to make sure that they, ensure a good client-guide relationship? And even if, you guys don't catch fish that day, the client walks away happy.
Absolutely, man. It's more about that experience on the water. I stress on my trips. I stress to all my guides. It's not just about catching fish, man. That's just a bonus of the day. Like, let's give these people, a day they're going to remember. Let's take pictures for them. Let's let them remember that. Let them take that with them. But we cook them a good meal, whether it be a gourmet sandwich or a West Virginia pepperoni roll. I'm sure you guys have never heard of that. It's a West Virginia thing. So we try to just make it an experience. We try to educate. We try to really teach them different techniques. Like I said, we got a lot of new people, so those people are so easy to guide because they're just wanting to learn. You don't have to impress them with anything. I mean, if they see a fish rise, it's made their day. So I think that's important as guides. It is about that relationship and don't take the catching the fish too serious. I know a lot of guides. I've even been with a couple guides where like they're more upset than the clients are if they're not catching fish, and it's a weird vibe. And the client's probably not going to be that upset if they're not catching fish if you're not upset as the guide. But if you're bummed out and acting like something's not right, then that's going to make it weird for them. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can definitely sense when the guide's not happy, it's hard for the client to be happy. So you just got to keep that positive attitude no matter what, and crack some jokes. That always helps.
You gotta have a good personality, good joking personality to be a good guide for sure. In fact, I have one guide. He's one of my best friends. He's really not that great of an angler. Sorry, Doug. But he's one of the funniest, greatest humans to be around ever. So, he's a good angler. But he really just guiding, a day on the water with Doug is just a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that experience is just so important at the end of the day. And that's kind of, in my opinion, especially what each guide service is looking for over time, is to grow that referral piece of I had an incredible time. I want to share that experience with other people that I know and refer that guide as well as come back next year. Like the best guides in the industry always have the same people coming back over and over again because they just absolutely love spending time with them. And that's not just about fishing. It's totally about the way that you act with a client, the way that you follow up with them and talk to them and try to make them somebody that is more of a friend than just a client too.
Absolutely, man. Repeat clients are key for sure, and that's why I share. Taking some pictures of their catch of the day. I had a guy catch a 22-inch brook trout this year. That's like a fish of a lifetime, and it was challenging to get that picture because he wasn't really holding the fish right, and he couldn't really show it off. But teaching him how to hold that, and then having a perspective from the net, and then my phone, uh, I was able to get an awesome picture of it finally and send that to him, and he immediately booked another trip already. It's like he loved that experience so much, and I think that's what it's all about.
100%. Now he has a picture to remember it by for the rest of his life too. So
Yep,
those pictures are important.
yep, for sure.
Cool. Well, I don't know how much time you guys got left, but I feel like we're kind of in an hour, so we can wrap it up and just kind of end there. Anything else, Beau, that you'd love to talk about just before we kind of wrap things up?
I've got a new project I'm actually probably going to put on the gram today. I can throw a little plug in for that real quick. I had
Absolutely.
Would
this
love to hear
idea.
about it.
I had this idea to do a fly shop, a fly fishing vending machine. So I bought some vending machines and I've put all the essential shit you need in there: your tippet, your flies, your box, your leaders, and I'm placing them throughout the state in different spots that
Awesome.
people can go grab on the fly, no pun intended, the gear you need. So hopefully we can expand that. We're the first ones to do it. I've done a lot of research. I've never seen it done yet. If you've seen it done, let me know. But hopefully we have those throughout the U.S. and we can keep growing that thing here soon.
I think that's an incredible idea. I'm excited to see them pop up all over the place. I think that's sick.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited
100%.
about it.
The fly fishing vending machine. What are you calling it? Just that?
I haven't really named it yet. I'm just going with the natives vending machine for now, but I'm sure I probably need to narrow that down a little bit.
Super
Well,
cool.
there you have it. Yeah, if you're in West Virginia, keep your eye out for the native vending machine.
That's right.
That's pretty sweet.
You guys
Well,
you don't have to use that part, but I was sharing that with you more or less.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I love your story in general. Just the fact that you have these ideas, you go out and just go for them, and like any great entrepreneur, you figure it out along the way. You try certain things and they don't work out, so you get at least you took that first step, and now you know more. And now you get to take your second step with a little bit more information under your belt, so that you can make a better decision. And that's what it's all about.
That's right, dude. No doubt. I don't have a background in this. I didn't go to school for this. I don't have a huge family or friends that know all this shit. It's just like you gotta learn as you go. I mean, I've learned so many different traits and techniques starting this business. Graphic design to web development to marketing. Like, it's a lot more than just running a fly shop. There's a lot to it. But I know if I ever fail, I'll just go back to doing construction one day. Another trait that I've learned along the way. But there's a lot of people out there in life that have these great ideas but never pursue it. They talk a lot and they think this is great and they're great and this is all great, but then they never do anything. And I've always been the type like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna go all in and try it. Like I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm just gonna be about it. So. It's worked out pretty good for me so far. Hopefully, it never. Hopefully, I don't eat my words there, but it's been fun so far.
No, keep doing what you're doing, man, and we'll 100% support it. So
Same. Likewise. You guys are doing awesome. Keep updating everything and loving what you're doing.
Yeah.
we appreciate it. That's a great way to end the Go Guide and Native Fly Fishing podcast. Thanks again, Bo and Phil. We had a great conversation and a great time today.